Welcome back to another episode of Jailbreak Overlander. I'm Richie, and this is Jailbreak. And this is going to be the first part in a multi-video series of traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the Atlantic to the Pacific, in a 25-year-old, 7,000-pound, 6-inch lifted, supercharged Land Cruiser FZJ80. Now, I spent an inordinate amount of time making sure this truck was ready, and when I left New England, the weather was 50 degrees at the beginning of July, rainy, and it sucked, and I could not wait to get wheels down and headed west, which is exactly what I did. I repaired or replaced anything that could fail because being out west in the summertime can be dangerous. It's going to be an interesting video. You're going to want to sit back, you're going to want to relax, and you're going to want to check this out. So here I go, 7 a.m., 4th of July, nobody's on the highway, and I'm going to take full advantage of that. I throw on an audiobook, Dante's Inferno, and I am blowing down the Massachusetts Turnpike, heading towards upstate New York. I am out of here. I want to see Massachusetts in my rear view mirror, and soon enough I do. Soon I'm overtaken by the hum of the road and the welcoming call of my tires, like being in mom's womb all over again.
The earthly things to which they broke their lives. So then, we meet Farinata first. Farinata has heard Dante speak of the Virgil. He's picked up on the Tuscan accent.
Well, it all depends on your mother, I suppose. But I digress. Hey, what's up, guys? It is the 4th of July, and I am just crossing the state line out of Massachusetts. It has been 59 degrees for the last 3 days, and the weather is frightful. The truck is running beautifully, but my speedometer is not working for whatever reason, and my remote starter won't start the truck for whatever reason. So as I'm debating on going straight west, I'm also wondering if I should shoot down to Virginia and hit up Ailstock Automotive and see what the deal is with my speedometer cable and whatever it is that's screwing up my remote starter. Because my remote starter is my fail-safe, because oftentimes my truck won't start with a key. You have to use the remote starter. It's been a thing for a couple of years now, and this could actually bite me in the ass pretty hard. But I am officially out of Massachusetts. I'm in the Berkshire Mountains right now, heading west, thinking about going south. Not exactly sure as of yet. While I was debating that, I noticed that my voltometer was low. My truck wasn't charging. I couldn't believe it. So I found a dry spot to pull over and started one of the first repairs. It turns out that my brand new 50 amp red arc was blowing my new Blue Sea breaker over and over, shutting me down. So I pulled out the 50 amp breaker, pulled out an 80 amp breaker that I had as a spare, climbed up on the side of my tire like a bear trying to get honey out of a hollow tree. Yeah, it wasn't pretty, but I did it. And I swapped it out real quick, all without electrocuting myself or anybody else or creating an arc. That problem was solved. But it was a harbinger of things to come, because this one problem was going to turn into more problems. and the problem is why I'm sitting in a hotel room right now recording this video as opposed to driving to the West Coast. But we'll get into that. Taking a little stop, making a little Alka-Seltzer. A little heartburn this morning. So with a little Alka-Seltzer down the old throat hole, I was back on the road. And the day continued. I managed to bang out 900 miles in the first day of driving and ended up grabbing myself a spot at a truck stop in western Ohio for the night. I set up the truck, I dropped down the bike rack, a little bit of a pain in the butt, but still totally worthy. Got everything set up, and this particular rest stop, I've stayed at this a dozen times, so I know it's a good spot. I know no one's going to mess with me. It's close to the highway, but there's a nice little piece of wilderness behind, including a small pond, which I really enjoyed. Setting up the truck is basically autopilot. I do this in my sleep, no problem, no worries. Same thing, different day. And I'm always trying to get interesting camera angles for you guys, and sometimes it just don't work out. So it is what it is. Finally, after the truck's set up, after I fed myself, I set up my laptop or laptops, and sometimes I set up a small recording studio in the back of the truck.
So when we read about to maximize what's in this lecture.
Day 2 is more Dante's Inferno, more hum of the tires, and more road. But I need gas. So this is day 2, and I'm at 1,600 miles. Now the truck's got a brand new motor in it. The new motor's only got 10,000 miles on it. I drove it home from Arizona. I found out I was sick. Spent 4 or 5 months dealing with being sick, etc. But didn't drive the truck all that much at all. The last 2 days I've done 1,600 miles so far, and with the old motor with 400,000 miles, exact same motor, just old, the truck got about 210 miles to a tank, which is about 10 miles per gallon. Now, I'm lucky if I get 150 miles to a tank. I mean, are you kidding me? I'm stopping for gas every 150 miles, so every 3 hours I have to stop and get gas. I have no idea in the world why that would be the case. The head that was on the truck was a brand new head. It only had 80,000 miles on it. I had it redone, like you're supposed to, because I couldn't get a long block. But the rest of the engine is brand new factory Toyota. Everything. Piston, I mean everything. I put a header on it, and it's got a 3-inch exhaust now. I cannot figure out for the life of me why my mileage is so bad. The truck has more power, I'll give her that. Definitely has more power, especially going up and down. And right now it's 94 degrees out. I'm driving west into the sun. So the sun's on the hood and the windshield, and the AC is killing it. The AC is working like a champ. I'm so glad that I took the time to vacuum the AC and recharge it properly myself. And with the land tank orange clutch, fan clutch in place, the truck does, I mean, I'm driving into the sun doing 73, 93 degrees out, and she hasn't cracked 193. So she's running 6 degrees hotter than baseline, which is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Again, I put in the orange fan clutch, brand new fan, brand new shroud, brand new factory radiator before I left. One of the many modifications I did. So now, with the gas being an issue, I'm paying attention to how many miles I've gone and how many miles it is to the next gas station. But this didn't happen just once, but twice. Twice, once in Indiana, once in Illinois, I stopped at massive gas stations that were the only gas stations around for 50 miles in each direction, only to find out none of their 30 pumps worked. So I had to break out my jerry cans that I had just got. These are made by Toyota in Japan. The only issue is the tube to fill sucks. It's enormous. So you have to stand there like you're feeding a baby bear with a baby bottle for 20 minutes in the 95-degree weather. It sucked. It was like being married, say it along with me, all over again. But I digress. Now the moral of this is always be prepared. The moral of this whole video is always be prepared. Sure, there's plenty of gas stations on Route 80 West, Route 40 West, Route 95 South, but sometimes, and this happened more than just this one place, the gas pumps weren't operating for whatever reason. They were just down. Now with the truck temporarily gassed up, that won't last much longer, I head back into it. First piece of traffic I hit is in Illinois. But after that, it's pretty much smooth sailing right into Iowa. And that's where I racked out for the night. I found a little campground and it was perfect. So I found this nice little camp spot here in Iowa, right on the water. It's a campground, which I usually don't do, but it's better than a rest stop for my second night on the road. And I already saw a barred owl as soon as I pulled in. So I set up the truck, I leveled it out, opened the rooftop tent, and began the business of getting water in the Camelback bladders and in the refrigerator so I'd have cold, clean drinking water. I spent a lot of time doing that, and then it was time to cook myself something to eat, which is what I did. Gonna make a little macaroni and cheese for tonight. Annie's mac and cheese, I love that stuff. It says it's organic, but they do lie. For one or two people, the Jetboil Missimo, I think is how you say it, is perfect. How's this for product placement? Use Jetboil in Annie's macaroni and cheese. Or don't. As loud as the frogs and cicadas were, it was music to my ears. It was much better than the rest stop I stayed at the night prior with the 18-wheelers screaming by all night. And for me, this stuff is just absolutely calming and amazing. And I'm a 5-year-old in a big body. Okay, let's see if this camera can pick this up. I'm going to show you something crazy. Whenever I camp next to the wood line, I always check the woods to see if there's anything in there. And is this camera picking this up? The glowing thing that was freaking me out was a fishing lure that was caught in a tree. And the reason I know that is because in the dark, I walked through the poison ivy and thorns to discover that. At any rate, with all that mystery figured out, it was time to hit the rack because I had to push west to California. So I was out. It was back to the soothing sound of the wind and the tires once again, pushing west to the enormous fields of wind turbines that absolutely litter the landscape. So right off the bat, instead of going straight to California, I have to make a detour to Golden, Colorado, which doesn't suck. I love Colorado, so that doesn't bother me. My $3,000 brand new 3-inch exhaust, I have a massive exhaust leak already. Not even 5,000 miles on this exhaust system, and it's already leaking big time. But I brought heavy-duty metal gaskets with me for just such an occasion. So hopefully Slee takes pity on me like they've done before, and they will fit me in. Hopefully, we'll see. Find out in the morning. So I just rolled into Iowa, and I never thought I'd be this sad to gain an hour. I just crossed into another time zone. I was so happy that it was almost 6 o'clock. Now it's only almost 5 o'clock. Because I've been driving 1,600 miles since yesterday morning, and it's work. Brutally hot out here in Iowa. And there's not a whole heck of a lot of shade. So even though my exhaust leak was getting really obnoxious, I kept the hammer down, but I still took time to enjoy the fact that I was in the Great Plains. So I'm in Nebraska, I'm in the Great Plains, and I'm just about at the door of Colorado. Now, even though Colorado can get me to California, I really didn't want to be making this trip. I planned on hitting Colorado after, but the truck's getting terrible gas mileage, and my brand new custom-made 3-inch exhaust is leaking already. It just pisses me off to no end. No end. So I'm gonna stop in this Slee. I'm gonna push through the Rockies and see what happens. Now, if you've ever traveled out west, Nebraska, Oklahoma, no matter what time of the day, what time of the year, it goes from sunny out to this. And there was a storm, and I was driving right smack dab into it. And it was pretty serious. It was no joke whatsoever at all. Fortunately, I got cameras on the truck before the sky started to fall, as they say. These are the Great Plains. I can still see sunlight behind me, and then suddenly total darkness, and the wind is whipping the truck around right now. Clearly I am driving into a storm. Hopefully it's not a twister. So after what seemed like endless driving through a storm, I finally pushed through into Colorado. But telling the difference between Colorado and Nebraska takes about 100 miles because it all looks the same till you finally start seeing the mountains. It can take a while, but I found them. So it's 4 o'clock Tuesday, and I'm in Colorado. I finally made it. On my way to Golden, Colorado, on Route 76 South. But I needed to stop, and places like this are very common out west. Just abandoned, looks like a restaurant of some sort. But they're all over the place. And that's where I'm at. Got a little roof over me. I'm off the highway enough that nobody will bother me. Probably one of those flanges in there is leaking, and it makes the truck sound terrible, and it robs you of horsepower and climbing. I'm at 4,000 feet right now, so 2 days ago I was at 0. I was at dead nut sea level. So after I worked on my truck a little bit, I kept pushing towards Golden, Colorado. My final destination would bring me to 6,200 feet in altitude and a 2,000 foot climb with a bad exhaust leak. The truck sounded terrible, and it's very discouraging for me because it just drives me insane. This is my truck. I spent a great deal of time, energy, money, and effort on this thing, only to have some quote-unquote professional I paid charge me a bunch of money, and his work fails as soon as I tested it. It's very disconcerting. But when I did get to the top of this mountain pass, this is exactly where I slept. I slept in the front seat of my truck because of the electrical storm, but it was amazing. Amazing video. Okay, so I'm in the middle of a monster thunderstorm, and I'm at 6,200 feet. And there's no hotel. It's pouring rain right now. So this is me living it up. With this little guy, I've been sitting in this chair driving all day since 6 a.m. and I'm going to sleep like this. So when I wake up, my legs will be hurt. And I rode my mountain bike for a few minutes, and then the rain and the lightning started. It's serious. I got plenty of pictures, I hope. Hear it? Crazy. If I had seen a motel up here, I would have grabbed one, but I can't. So, car camping is what it is. It's glamorous. I envy you. Yeah, don't envy me yet, man. All right? Everybody's got their own little plot, we'll call it. So, I wake up this morning, I head down the mountain, and I hook up with the guys at Slee Off-Road, and they told me about a guy in Littleton, Colorado, a place called Hank's Hot Rods. And he next day ordered me the parts that I needed. It wasn't the flanges that were leaking, it was the 2 expansion joints. The kid had welded the expansion joints so close that one of the expansion joint flanges cut the fabric, the steel webbing, causing the leak. So now it has to be completely rebuilt from top to bottom, which is going to cost me, in total, including the hotel rooms, around $3,000. So the repair is going to cost me exactly what they charged me in the first place to fix something that failed faster than the product that they replaced. Do you see what I'm saying? And it pisses me off, and I have still yet to put their name out there. They'll have one chance to make this right. One chance and one chance only. Or it'll be the worst $3,000 worth of advertising ever. At any rate. These are the pictures I got before the rain came in. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below, and I'll return the favor. I am out.